Hey there and welcome. So we're going to talk about a word that you hear absolutely everywhere, innovation. But what does it actually mean for a business? We're going to get past all the buzzwords and really break down what it takes to turn a cool new idea into a real game-changing success.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll clear up a really common mix-up about what innovation even is. Then, we'll dive into its three core forms. After that, we'll see what happens when you combine them all into something truly powerful. And finally, we'll talk about how to bring these ideas into the real world and leave you with a big question to think about for your own work. All right, first things first, we have to tackle a huge misunderstanding. We often throw around the words invention and innovation like they're the same thing. But honestly, in the world of business strategy, they are worlds apart. True innovation is so much bigger than just a clever idea. So let me ask you, when you hear the word innovation, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it some lone genius in a lab having that big eureka moment? And yeah, those flashes of brilliance are definitely part of it. But the reality of strategic innovation is way more systematic and, well, down to earth than that. And this really lays out the crucial difference perfectly. See, an invention, that's the spark. It's the new concept, the new technology. But innovation, that's the fire. It's the whole process of taking that spark and turning it into something that creates real, tangible value out there in the market. At the end of the day, an idea has to clear three big hurdles to earn the title of innovation. First, it has to be applied. People have to actually use it. Second, customers have to want it. They have to see its value. And third, the company has to be able to deliver it reliably and at a large scale. If you're missing any one of those, you still just got a really great invention that's waiting for its moment. Okay, so now that we know what innovation is, let's get into how it happens. Turns out there are really three fundamental levers any organization can pull to create change. A simple way to think about them is changing the what, the how, or the for whom. First up is the one we're all most familiar with, product innovation. This is all about the what. It's totally focused on changing the actual things, the goods or services that you sell to your customers. And what's really striking when you look at this is just how broad this category is. It can be as simple as offering a cheaper version of something, like a generic store brand. It could be an improvement that adds new value, like a washing machine that saves you a ton on your energy bill. Or it can be something so new it creates an entire category out of thin air, just like the first smartphone did. Next up, we have process innovation. And this shifts our focus from the what to the how. This isn't about the product itself. It's about improving all the behind-the-scenes machinery, the systems and the steps you take to actually create and deliver that value to your customer. So this could mean automating tasks in a factory to drive down costs. It could be implementing new training to seriously boost the quality of your customer service. Or it might be using technology to get products to people faster and more reliably. Just think about how web shops with real-time inventory have totally changed the game. So that brings us to our third lever, market innovation. This one answers the question, for whom? And it's not just about finding brand new customers. It can also be about repositioning what you offer to change what it means to a very specific audience. This can be as simple as adapting a product made for adults so it works for kids. But a perfect example is what streaming services do. They take the exact same library of shows and movies and create different tiers, like basic and premium, to appeal to different customer segments at totally different price points. It's brilliant. So we've looked at the three core levers, product, process, and market. But what happens when you don't just pull one? What if you pull them all at once and integrate them into a completely new way of doing things? Well, that's when you stop just playing the game and you start changing the rules entirely. This is what we call business model innovation. It's a fundamental ground-up shift in the very logic of how your company works. It's not just about a new what, a new how, or a new for whom. It's a whole new system for how they all work together to create value. Any business model really just answers three basic questions. First, what value are you creating for your customer? Second, how are you delivering it to them? And third, how do you secure or capture value for yourself? In other words, how do you make money? Innovating on any one of these can fundamentally change the entire model. This is exactly what companies like Netflix and Spotify did so masterfully, right? They didn't invent movies or music. They innovated the business model. They completely shifted the logic from owning physical things like DVDs or CDs to simply paying for access through a subscription. And that was so powerful because it created a steady, recurring revenue stream and a direct, ongoing relationship with millions of customers. Okay, so this brings us to a really critical question. With all these options on the table, innovating your product, your process, your market, or even your entire business model, how on earth do you decide which path to take? And maybe even more importantly, how do you manage all the risk that comes with it? Well, there's a simple but really powerful rule that governs all of this. The more newness you introduce, the higher the risk. And that's exactly why it's so helpful to distinguish between, say, a small incremental improvement and a massive game-changing bet. Each one requires a completely different approach. There's a great way to think about this called the innovation cube, and it basically helps you get a handle on your risk by asking 3 really straightforward questions. How new is our product? How new is the market we're going after? And how new are the processes we're going to need to actually deliver it? And as you can see, the risk really grows exponentially with each new thing you change. A minor little product tweak for your existing customers, that's pretty low risk. But launching a radically new product for a totally new market with a process you've never tried before, well, that's a high-stakes, high-reward venture that demands some serious planning and resources. Okay, let's bring this all home. We've defined innovation, we've broken it down into its core types, and we've even looked at a framework for thinking about risk. So, what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean?
It's this. Innovation isn't magic. It's a process, and it's a process that can be managed. Great innovation management is really the art of guiding an idea all the way from that initial little spark to becoming a successful, scaled-up part of your business. It's about making conscious, strategic choices, not just sitting around waiting for a stroke of genius.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As you look at your own work or your own organization, which one of these levers offers the most opportunity right now? Should the focus be on improving your product, streamlining your process, finding a new market, or is it maybe time to rethink the entire business model? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me today.